2/3 of the Earth is covered by water, teeming with life in many different realms. From the depths of the open ocean to the coral reefs, predators and prey fight it out in the endless struggle to survive. In this world beneath the waves, each encounter could be their last. Coral reefs are home to a vast, colourful variety of creatures, all busy searching for their next meal. This is one of the richest ecosystems on the planet, and nothing here goes to waste. Everything is recycled as food or shelter. For soft corals, life is easy. All they have to do is catch the microscopic morsels drifting down from the waters above. Butterfly fish graze on hard corals and find a home among the branches. The coral garden offers some protection from the eyes of predators. For the smaller reef fish, danger is never far away. Venturing into the open is a calculated risk. The blue-spotted jawfish is safe in its burrow on the sea bottom. Once out in the open, it's vulnerable. Nearby, a predator in camouflage, a scorpionfish. The jawfish sticks close to the ocean floor. Amid the rubble, the killer lies in ambush. A narrow escape, and the jawfish is taking no more chances. It hastily digs a new burrow. Another master of disguise emerges to look for food. The reef octopus. The scorpionfish is back in ambush mode, and the octopus's camouflage isn't so effective on the move. It's not the scorpionfish's lucky day. Its second target is just too big to swallow. The octopus isn't out of danger yet. In its panic, it's released scents into the water, and another of the ocean's smartest predators can smell fear. White with alarm, the octopus comes face to face with a 2-meter moray eel. Another brush with death, and this time the octopus leaves one of its 8 tentacles behind. The missing limb will soon grow again. For now, its owner makes off on the remaining 7. Meanwhile, a ghost shrimp leaves its hole, aiming for the safety of the reef. But it's entering danger zone. The octopus has returned to its den and set a trap of its own. The shrimp's soft flesh is quickly consumed and its empty shell discarded. Some shrimps are better prepared, however. The mantis shrimp is famous for its sharp eyesight, and that's not all. Its front claws pack quite a punch, and when they're not needed for combat, they can be used as cutlery. Mussels are one of the mantis shrimp's favorite foods. Back in the comfort of its den, it cracks open the shell and scrapes out the flesh. But its meal is about to be rudely interrupted. The octopus is returning. The mantis shrimp waves its mighty claws to try and scare the intruder away. When that doesn't work, it tries a more direct approach. It punches the octopus in the eye. It's the octopus's weak spot. After the third blow, the octopus gives up. And it's now safe to go home. Crustaceans, like shrimps and this cancer crab, have an armored shell as well as claws, so they can afford to take a chance in the open. A female cancer crab looking for a different kind of encounter. Here's a likely candidate, big and strong, and he's definitely interested. The male revolves his partner until she's facing him. That way, the pair have all-round protection while they concentrate on each other. They may hold this armored embrace for up to 2 weeks before they finally mate. Some creatures live their whole lives on one spot, barnacles. They stay firmly attached to the rocks or reef while bits of food fall straight into their tiny arms. Barnacles have no problem collecting food, but being so immobile is a disadvantage when they come to reproduce. Like these corals, all they can do is cast their eggs and sperm into the current. Other youngsters have a much more secure start in life. A newborn horn shark was also left on the reef as an egg, but it developed undisturbed inside this sturdy capsule. Now it's almost ready for the outside world. The inexperienced are always vulnerable, and danger comes in many forms. An angel shark lurks beneath the sand. The hunter swallows its victim whole. And spits it out again. Even at only a few hours old, the horn shark has a secret weapon. Its horn. This tiny dagger pierced the angel's mouth and saved its life. Its cover blown, the angel shark must find a new place to conceal itself. It shuffles into a good position, ready for another unwary passerby. This older horn shark has made it through the critical first few days and leaves the reef to mingle with creatures of the open waters. Although all alone, its telltale shape and spine deter most predators, including curious sea lions. In deeper waters, ocean inhabitants grow much larger. But many, including reef sharks, still prey on the reef community. In this twilight zone close to the sea bottom, sharks have been the top predators for millions of years. They too rely on an element of surprise. But they use stealth rather than speed. Their tactic is the open water version of ambush, to sneak up from behind. Reef sharks aren't the fastest fish in the sea, but neither are their targets. Smaller fish can always flee to the nooks and crannies of the reef. Away from the reef, there are few hiding places, and both hunters and the hunted are built for speed. Like other open ocean or pelagic fish, the blue shark has a slender, streamlined body. 3 meters long, it travels thousands of kilometers, further than any other shark. This is the ultimate predator. Tiny pits detect vibrations in the water, while other sensors track its prey's electrical field. It can smell the faintest hint of blood, and its superb eyesight is protected by a special lid. Once a mackerel has been separated from the school, there's nowhere to run. Perhaps the shark's most vital assets are its teeth, which are constantly replaced. Up to 6 sets grow at any one time, on a kind of conveyor belt. When a tooth is lost, another simply rolls into position. While sharks are solitary predators, their rivals often hunt in packs. Barracuda. These 2-meter-long torpedoes are a match for anything, including man. When barracuda congregate, it's obvious why their fearsome reputation goes before them. Like sharks, they can pick up the smallest vibrations, and they share the shark's position at the top of the food chain. Even on its own, a barracuda is a fearsome sight, especially when it's looking for a meal. It has vice-like jaws and teeth as sharp as needles. A lone fish is making vibrations. The barracuda's lightning strike in slow motion. Speed and aggression are not the only secrets of survival in the open ocean. This is the world's largest fish, but it moves slowly and is completely harmless. Weighing up to 20 tons, it may grow even longer than the humpback whale, and fully deserves its name, the whale shark. Like most of the great whales, the whale shark feeds on some of the ocean's smallest creatures. It trawls the water for tiny fish and crustaceans known as krill. It filters enormous volumes of water through the gills, trapping tiny prey inside the huge mouth. The seas are full of surprises, and appearances are often deceptive. Like the whale shark, the wolf eel is alarming face to face, but it's one of the least aggressive creatures in the ocean. It's actually a kind of blenny, but with a huge head and 2-meter tail, it looks more like an eel. It even lurks in a cave like an eel. When it emerges to hunt, it's not interested in other fish. Its favorite food is more of a sitting target, found among the rocks and corals of the reef. This bizarre monster with its massive jaws preys on sea urchins. Sea urchins have no eyes, so the wolf eel doesn't need camouflage. But other reef inhabitants depend on it. Even fish of the same species may have individual markings. No two red Irish lordfish look the same. Blending so well into the coral mosaic, perhaps it's no surprise they're ambush predators. And this is just what they're waiting for. The crab isn't beaten yet. It throws out its legs and claws to make itself as large and unmanageable as possible. But not quite large enough. It manages to hang on to the Lord's lips, but there's no way out. On the reef, every living thing must be able to defend itself. Even those that can't move are armed with the tools they need to survive. Tube anemones wave their tentacles, catching food to drop into their funnel mouths. They may look helpless, but their bright colors warn predators that they sting. The problem is, there's always something that can get past the security system. This is the tube anemone's worst nightmare, the rainbow nudibranch. The nudibranch is a kind of sea slug. Almost blind, it hunts by smell alone, plopping into position next to its target. Then it launches a surprise attack. The anemone tries to retreat into its tube, but the nudibranch dives in face first, gorging itself. And the sea slug steals more than a meal. It also steals the anemone's defenses. The stinging cells pass through the body undigested, ending up in its own skin tissues. The nudibranch's gaudy colors attract attention, but they also advertise the fact that they don't make a good meal. Sea lions get the message and leave well alone. Nudibranchs store their stolen venom in colorful gills attached outside the body. The colors deter most predators, but not other sea slugs. They're immune to the poison. This is a sea tiger, a sea slug with an unusual taste for other sea slugs, and a novel way of catching them. It isn't always quick enough. And And this one just tastes bad. When two sea tigers meet, at least it's an equal match. But some things are more important than fighting. After a quick showdown, they immediately start to mate. Each animal has both male and female organs, and during this encounter they exchange eggs as well as sperm. It's a good solution. Being both mother and father is often easier than tracking down the opposite sex on the vast expanses of the ocean floor. But some creatures just have to make that dangerous journey from time to time. The coral crab's shell offers some protection, but the flesh inside is tempting, especially to a triggerfish. Triggerfish have strong teeth, but only a small mouth. They attack by persistent nipping. The crab uses its flat shell as a shield, which can't get a grip. It manages to ward off the attack long enough to run for cover. Crabs have many enemies, and here's another. A visitor from the ocean surface descending to look for food. The loggerhead turtle hunts on the reef and sea bottom, where crabs live. Once spotted, the crab may be able to outrun its pursuer. But if those powerful jaws get a hold, it won't stand a chance. The crab seems to have run out of steam, and death is swift. The loggerhead has experience on its side. It may have been hunting here for decades. At night, many members of the reef community are asleep, even if their eyes are open. The reef itself never sleeps. Corals continue feeding, and nocturnal predators are also wide awake. The lionfish is a close relative of the scorpionfish, with venomous spines. It spreads giant fins to make a kind of net, cornering sleepy prey. Then it sucks the food into its mouth with blinding speed. Slow motion shows the accuracy of the attack. Once in the hunter's sights, the victim doesn't know what's hit it. All night long, it picks off the sluggish reef fish. The fanfare of spines protects it from counterattack. Another night stalker is taking advantage of the sleeping fish. It's a common cuttlefish with uncommon intelligence. A camouflage virtuoso, it changes color at will and has excellent eyesight, able to pick out prey in almost total darkness. Closing in, it flushes white as it goes for the kill. The target seems oblivious to approaching danger. It's all over in a split second. Here's the kill at a fraction of its actual speed. First, the cuttlefish creeps as close as possible, bracing itself against the floor. Its two longest tentacles reach out. But don't strike until they're almost touching the prey. The darkness hides much larger predators, including a distant cousin of the cuttlefish, the Humboldt squid. At 3 meters and 100 kilos, these ghostly apparitions leave the ocean depths at night to feed in lighter waters near the surface. Their shifting colors mesmerize prey. The Humboldt strikes like a rocket from below, enfolding its prey in 10 deadly tentacles covered in powerful suckers. Each sucker disc is lined with razor-sharp hooks surrounding the enormous beak. Once attached, the hooks shred flesh and skin, and the beak bites deep. These eerie creatures inspire fear in those who encounter them, and with good reason. Aggressive by nature, they'll attack almost anything. Sharks, humans, even each other. In the darkness, danger is hard to see. This is a sea wasp, also known as a box jellyfish, notorious for its lethal sting. The slightest contact with its trailing lines can kill a human being in minutes, never mind a small fish. Once it makes a catch, the booty is hauled inside the body to be digested. Other jellyfish are active by day. With the first light of dawn, huge swarms of moon jellyfish drift towards the surface. Ocean currents may bring them together in their thousands. They trawl the water with their stinging tentacles, but they in turn are hunted by another, larger jellyfish. The stinging cauliflower. The cauliflower has hundreds rather than dozens of tentacles, and easily overwhelms smaller relatives. Daylight filters down to the reef, and a little goby fish starts the day. But it's not alone. This is the proboscis of a kind of underwater snail, the cone shell, loaded with a poisonous harpoon. One touch would mean instant death for the goby. The gobies stand their ground, but one of them gets too close. The goby is paralyzed and consumed whole. The baler snail can't hunt by sight. Its vision is too bad. But it makes up for its tiny eyes by having a really big nose. It sniffs out smaller relatives, like this ton snail. The tiny trunk acts like a siphon, testing the water to pick up the slime trails of others. The ton snail leaves a telltale scent. The chase is on. The bailer finally catches up and wraps the ton snail in its mantle. Once inside, the ton snail is slowly dissolved by digestive juices. Another underwater snail, the helmet conch, also follows its nose. It tracks the scent of sea urchins. The urchin doesn't know it's coming, yet. If it did, it could easily outrun the conch on its thousands of tiny tube feet. The helmet conch glides into position, and the urchin gets no warning until it's too late. The helmet lifts its heavy shell and pins the urchin against the rock. Undeterred by its victim's spines, it slowly sucks out the urchin's soft innards. Bat stars, both red and white varieties, are also slow-motion hunters, even slower than the snails. Right now they're on the attack, but you wouldn't know it, not without speeding up the action. Once again, a black sea urchin is taken by surprise. The smaller white urchin is quite nimble in comparison. Swarms of these tiny predators overpower and eat their larger cousins. At 50 times the normal speed, the violence of these skirmishes is revealed. This starfish is much bigger than the bat star, with a much bigger appetite. It's a sun star, nearly a meter across, that will devour anything it can trap beneath its 20 legs. Waves of brittle stars flee from its path. This one is safe for the moment. It's hitching a ride on the predator's back. But the sunstar is heading for larger prey, a succulent scallop. As the carpet of brittle stars clears, the scallop is left exposed to the sunstar's probing arms. The scallop isn't helpless. At the last moment, it snaps shut and jets out of harm's way. Starfish may be slow, but they're effective predators. The leather star hunts sea anemones. It seems a fair fight. Both contenders are blind and usually very slow movers. But once alerted to the danger, the anemone springs into action. Venom is the first line of defense. It swipes at the leather star with stinging tentacles. If poison fails, the anemone has another tactic. It simply releases its grip on the reef and swims off to find a new home. And there's nothing the leather star can do about it. Once safely out of range, the anemone chooses a suitable spot. This time with a bodyguard. Life and death struggles are constantly taking place beneath the waves, but some encounters are more dramatic than others. Twice a year, at full moon, hundreds of thousands of opalescent squid come together. They gather for the final act of their lives, a mass mating ritual. Each male catches hold of a female, turning red to warn off other suitors. Then he deposits sperm under a fold in the female's body. The female produces a long egg case packed with 200 eggs. And while the male may leave to seek another mate, she finds a sandy spot to plant her precious cargo. Intent on their mission, the squid lose all fear of death. Stingrays and other predators move in for the kill. The squid's fate is sealed anyway. The ocean floor is carpeted with eggs, but the exhausted parents are now dead or dying. All their strength has gone to produce the next generation. Sand dabs squabble over the corpses, and soon other predators gather for the morbid feast. A sea anemone gets a giant helping, and so does a decorator crab. Nothing goes to waste. This is one meal the scorpion fish doesn't need to ambush. Soon the feeding frenzy is over, and life for predators and prey returns to normal. Around the coral reef and out across the open ocean, the battle goes on. Every creature must be ready for the next deep encounter. Two-thirds of the Earth is covered by water, a world full of life, but fraught with danger. Down below, it's risky to travel alone, but there's often safety in numbers. Many sea creatures help to protect each other by forming special alliances with their neighbors. In the ocean, there are many good reasons for having friends. Finding a meal or a mate, fighting off enemies and defending territory. All these things are easier if you stick together. Many fish swim in large shoals and seem to operate as one. There's no obvious leader, but each individual follows the next, barely a fin's length away. For small fish, this is the best way to stay in one piece. It's hard for a predator to pick out a single victim, and even then, the chances are it won't be you. This group has a definite leader, but it's still a team effort. As a storm approaches, spiny lobsters make a dash for deeper, calmer waters. Each individual is a vital link in the chain, hooking barbed antennae onto the one in front and moving on 4 pairs of legs apiece. It's safer than going solo. One has been left behind, but it's not alone for long. These are enemies, not friends. Disabling a lobster is easy for them. Triggerfish have small yet powerful jaws and sharp teeth able to pierce the lobster's armor. They attack a mouthful at a time. It's death by 1,000 cuts. The smaller the fish, the more it benefits from the security of a shoal. With thousands of allies, a single sardine is lost in the crowd. But a shoal is easy for predators to spot, especially when the fish make for the ocean surface. These sardines have scales like tiny mirrors that flash in the sunlight, an irresistible kaleidoscope. The sea lion may be hungry or just curious. Either way, it finds the shoal elusive. In these bright surface waters, though the risk is greater, the sardines take the chance because this is where they find their favorite food. tiny red shrimp-like creatures called krill. Gathering in hunting mode, the shoal gangs up to trap the krill against the ocean surface. But the commotion brings competition. Blue sharks bury their faces in the bright red bundle, taking advantage of the sardines' hard work. With the krill so conveniently packaged for them, the sharks can't be bothered with sardines. So for once, predator and prey dine together in a strange liaison. Afterwards, the sardines return to deeper water in a close formation called a bait ball. But suddenly they're on the run. Striped marlin move in for the kill, herding the sardines into an ever tighter ball. They're joined by a sailfish with a larger dorsal fin than its relations. The predators work together, taking turns to pierce the center of the sardine ball in an attempt to feed. But they only have small mouths, and their target shifts like quicksilver. Eventually, the marlin force the sardines to the surface, trapping them just as they had trapped the krill. Now the shoal comes under fire from both sides. Marlin below, pelicans and gulls above. Only a small group of sardines remain, having lost all the advantages of the school. And still the marlin persist. Shoaling isn't only about defense. It's also good for hunting. A school of big-eyed jack can easily overwhelm smaller fish. They strike like a whirlwind, leaving no way out. Once again, the ocean surface becomes a barrier, trapping the prey. Fish aren't the only sea creatures that live in large groups. Some marine mammals do too, in particular dolphins. White-sided dolphin schools are the biggest, up to 4,000 individuals. They follow the fast-moving tuna at speeds of 20 kilometers an hour or more. Their communal lifestyle has many advantages, especially the protection it offers the young. An extended family of parents, aunts and uncles, brothers and sisters are all on hand to help if necessary. Dolphins are loyal friends. They've been known to support a companion unable to swim. Succeeding as a group also depends on being able to communicate. Dolphins have evolved a special underwater language made up of clicks and whistles. They also keep in touch with a kind of underwater sonar called echolocation. The main purpose is for finding food and detecting any threats to the community, such as sharks. But it's also useful to let one dolphin know where the others are. Whales, too, spend their lives with friends and family. Pilot whales are about 3 times as big as dolphins and also form close-knit schools of several hundred. This mother and father are careful to ensure their youngster can keep up. Other sea creatures spend most of their lives alone and only come together for special events. Marbled stingrays meet up several times a year, not to feed or for protection, but to mate. On this occasion, something's not quite right. All the participants are males, except for one large female, the center of attention. Tired of being pestered, she heads out in search of peace and quiet. But she can't shake off her queue of eager suitors. More females will probably turn up soon. In the meantime, each male clings to the hope that he'll be chosen, even at odds of 100 to 1. Sometimes mating takes place only once a year. For bat rays, it's a social highlight no one can afford to miss. As the time approaches, they rise from their sleep to join the throng. Thousands of bat rays come from far across the ocean to a special meeting place, and as night falls, they begin their courtship dance. Gradually, couples pair off. The smaller male approaches a potential partner, gently rubbing against her belly and trying to slow her down. Finally, she allows him to mate, on the wing, as it were. Afterwards, male and female separate and rejoin the party. All night long, the dance continues. Then at dawn, The exhausted rays return to their solitary ways. Until next year. Hammerhead sharks prefer to mate by day and wait for sunrise to begin their courtship ritual. They're heading upwards, not to the surface, but to the top of an underwater pinnacle. At the summit, they gather in their hundreds, high above the ocean floor, drawn together by the urge to reproduce. For once, small fish have nothing to fear. The sharks ignore them. Right now, they only have one thing on their minds. A male and female find each other and embrace. But as soon as they stop swimming, they start to sink. This relationship hits the rocks. Mating over for another year, the hammerheads disperse, some in search of a different kind of alliance. A group of butterfly fish are waiting. They're known as cleaners or barbers and are the shark's personal grooming service. Nearby, king angelfish perform the same task. These eager attendants bite off parasites and bits of dead tissue, which might otherwise become an irritation. Their client slows right down to help the process. It seems a risky business, yet this strange relationship keeps both sides happy. Cleaners get a free lunch, while the shark resists its normal urge to eat them. White-tip reef sharks also have problem skin. They visit a special pit stop where banded gobies come out to service them. The tiny gobies work in crews, scouring the shark's rough skin. They're even confident enough to clean between its teeth. The gobies don't have long. When a shark stops swimming, it's hard for it to get enough oxygen through the gills. Soon it must leave to catch a breath. Barber fish service a wide variety of clients, but some liaisons are more dangerous than others. Before the barracuda gets an appointment, it has to reassure the barbers that it won't attack. The signal is to turn from silver to black. A lined goby is convinced and gets to work. Yet one false move could be fatal. A little spit and polish is important even for smaller fish. Dirty scales can slow them down. These sea chubs have come to a special place on the reef where black-nosed butterfly fish and other barbers congregate, a regular ocean cleaning station. The butterfly fish use their snouts like miniature vacuum cleaners. Convict tangs and yellow tangs are also on the lookout for a meal. They pass the time nibbling algae from the reef. Until, every now and then, an alternative source of food appears from the blue. A green turtle heading for the cleaning station, one particular outcrop in all the vast ocean. The turtle is carrying excess baggage, too much green algae, and requires the delicate attentions of the hungry barberfish. One very satisfied customer. The turtle needs to return to the surface to breathe, but as yet can hardly tear itself away. It may have been a regular client at this barber shop for the last 3/4 of a century. In the open ocean, it's harder to find a meeting point. Drifting kelp weed can serve as a refuge and makeshift cleaning station. The weed is a haven for vulnerable baby fish and adults too. Half-moon perch, for example. And one of the sea's most bizarre inhabitants, the ocean sunfish. The sunfish looks like one enormous head with no real backside or tail. As it gets older, it sheds scale after scale, and the bald, leathery skin attracts parasites. So anyone in need of a nibble is welcome. There's a lot of skin to clean. Sunfish can grow to over 3 meters long and 2 wide and weigh over a ton. In fact, they can outgrow every fish in the sea apart from sharks. Back on the reef, a tiger grouper checks into the cleaning bay, and shark-nosed gobies rush in to serve. Once again, the pact between client and cleaner keeps the little gobies safe. The grouper's teeth present no threat. Nearby, rivals have set up shop. Pedersen shrimp. A Nassau grouper stops for a wash and brush up. Pincers poised, the shrimp approaches its client, and the grouper darkens in colour to guarantee its safety. With this open invitation, the shrimp can feed all over the grouper's body, including critical zones such as the eyes and mouth. It even has access to the ultra-sensitive gills. Creatures with no fixed address can carry their assistants with them. Giant purple jellyfish, some 5 meters long, drift through the open ocean with a more or less permanent entourage. Plankton caught in the jelly's mucus coating makes a hearty meal. Like most hangers-on, this one cleans and polishes in return for board and lodging. Perhaps those tassels act as feather dusters. Others live in the jelly's shadow as protection from their many predators. Juvenile jackfish aren't completely immune to the stinging tentacles, but they're better off here than in the open water. The sting deters their enemies, and the tentacles make effective camouflage. All kinds of unlikely sea creatures live together as special allies. Out of the deep glides a manta ray, at least 4 meters across. These huge wings provide a mantle of protection for smaller fish usually wary of the open ocean. As the manta scoops water to collect plankton, a clarion angelfish boldly picks at its skin. The manta needs to keep its streamlined body smooth and slows down to encourage the angelfish. The job done, the ray accelerates again, and the angelfish tries to glean a last few morsels. Manta rays rarely travel alone, however. Each has permanent passengers, one or more remoras. The travelling companion is completely dependent on the manta, but offers nothing in return. The rays try twisting and turning to shake them off. To no avail. The remora's dorsal fin has evolved into a suction disc, which is used for holding on. Aboard its giant host, the remora has an easy ride across the ocean, picking up leftovers from the manta's meals. Ridges on the suction disc create a powerful vacuum, so the remora rarely comes unstuck, even upside down. The manta has little choice. Whichever way it turns, the remora simply goes with the flow. Another kind of ray, and another annoying sidekick. The barjack can't stick on, but it's just as hard to shake off. While the stingray seems to get little from this alliance, it's a goldmine for the jack. The stingray eats shellfish, excavated from the sand. In the process, smaller shrimp and fish are also exposed. All the barjack has to do is be ready for them. The jack is very possessive of its convenient relationship. The dark colouring warns potential rivals to stay away. When another barjack tries to get in on the act, a confrontation is inevitable. Despite all this posturing, no one is hurt. Eventually, the rival is defeated, and the first jack rejoins its reluctant partner. It's not just relationships that need defending. Some underwater conflicts begin over the dinner menu. A sheepshead fish has found a tasty urchin and isn't about to let the meal be swiped from under its nose. The situation is resolved by a kind of silent shouting match. To the oddly named sarcastic fringehead, a new home is worth fighting for. It scans the reef for a good location, the perfect coral hideaway. Just the thing. But there's a problem. The fringehead has invaded someone else's personal space. The neighbor from hell. Suddenly, tempers flare. It's simple. The one with the biggest mouth will win. When you're alone in the world, you've got to stand up for yourself. The male Garibaldi fish defends his turf against unwanted visitors, both plants and animals. He tends a special garden of red algae, a nest to attract a mate. It works. A passing female is interested and pops in for an inspection. She's impressed and lays her eggs in the algae. But as soon as she's finished, the male chases her away. The father will now take full responsibility until his small fry hatch in a few weeks' time. First, he fertilizes the batch of eggs. Then he goes back to warding off unwelcome visitors. He takes no chances. Even this slow-motion predator is dropped off far away from the nest. With so much coming and going, there's no peace for the Garibaldi. The next trespassers are a school of senorita fish. Finally, he takes a break. But just as it seems the coast is clear, a more serious threat appears. A baby octopus. The octopus plops down a little too close to the Garibaldi's garden and won't be budged. Eventually, white with frustration, the octopus fires a smoke screen of ink and makes a getaway. The Garibaldi has saved his eggs and algae. Ancient liaisons between algae and primitive animals founded the complex coral reefs. Coral may look like a plant, but that's not so. It's animal, and a predator like any other, feeding and growing to form layer upon layer of spectacular shapes and patterns. Coral tentacles reach out to capture bits of food. But coral needs more than plankton to survive. Green plants inhabit its maze of tissues, microscopic algae that produce essential nutrients to help the coral grow. In exchange, the algae get a niche for life. This bond between plant and animal began some 450 million years ago and is still going strong. Today, the reef is a haven for many other creatures, from a blenny in need of a burrow to a seahorse pulled by the current. survival depends on give and take. The red sea urchin may eat Garibaldi eggs, but once the eggs have hatched, an urchin becomes a sanctuary for the juvenile Garibaldis. Although these spines are dangerous, they're still the safest option for the Garibaldis. All over the reef are surprising partnerships. There's more to these hydrocorals than meets the eye. They're homes for staghorn hermit crabs. The hermits once had shells of their own. Then the corals took over, dissolving the shells away. Nevertheless, the hermit is so at home, it even has its own trapdoor, made from a modified claw. In return, the coral is transported to new feeding grounds. Crabs are always looking for the best disguise to confuse the many crab eaters in the ocean. They often team up with less mobile creatures. A sponge, for example. It's a difficult balancing act, however, and the slightest wobble might give the game away to a hungry predator. Sponge and crab are two animals living together. These anemones, hermit crab and seashell are involved in a three-way alliance. When a bigger conch shell attracts the hermit, it's all change. First, the hermit checks there's no one else inside. Then tries the shell for size. A perfect fit. But the hermit needs its anemones to move in too. They're ocean allies. The anemone's stinging tentacles put crab eaters off, and the hermit shows its gratitude by throwing scraps of food their way. The hermit gently prods the anemones into letting go, so they can be replanted at their new address. Anemones make good companions for small fish too, as long as they're immune to the stings. The clown anemone fish is covered in a thick mucus to shield it from the venom in these tentacles, so it can dive back safely into the anemone's arms whenever danger threatens. There are several varieties of anemone and anemone fish. All bear coats of many colors that warn enemies off. In return, the fish keep the anemone's tentacles free of debris. This deal works well with other neighbors too, such as the porcelain crab, busy filtering plankton from the water with its fans. Being transparent is an advantage, and it always helps to have an accomplice. Shrimps, like the other tenants, keep the anemone clean and tidy. Yet some relationships seem totally one-sided. The sea cucumber trawls the sea grass beds for particles of food, shadowed by a very different companion, the tiny pearlfish. The pearlfish feeds at night. If it senses trouble, it has a most unusual hiding place. It finds the sea cucumber's anus with its nose, then turns around and slips inside, tail first. What its host gets out of this, who knows? Another unequal partnership. A sheep crab carrying so many friends it can hardly move. Barnacles can't go anywhere on their own, but stuck to the sheep crab shell, they're moved from place to place. This way they can catch a greater variety of food. With kelp on board as well, the crab is looking overworked. It seems a high price to pay for a bit of camouflage. Barnacles will stow away on virtually anything that moves, from a piece of driftwood to a whale. However, they're a burden the whale can do without, so perhaps it can knock them off by diving through the kelp. A mature grey whale may be 15 meters long, and as the years go by, most of its body is covered in a thick barnacle crust. Scientists can recognize individual whales from their scars. When the barnacles get too much, the whale tries a different tactic. It seeks out a gravelly spot on the ocean floor and rubs and scrapes in an effort to exfoliate. This method doesn't seem particularly successful, however. What the whale really needs is a personal team of cleaner fish. But this job is just too big. Most other problems sea creatures face can be solved with a little help from their friends or relations. In a world where danger is all around, there's comfort in knowing you're not alone. Even the smallest individual can find strength in numbers. So often, the key to survival is to work together with your ocean allies. Two-thirds of the Earth is covered by water, the lifeblood of our blue planet. The ocean's influence is felt on land as well as at sea, in our climate and the very air we breathe. Many sea creatures originally came from the land. Now they spend most of their lives below the surface, but they still communicate with the world above. If one creature echoes the voice of the ocean itself, this is it, the humpback whale. The male humpback sings to attract a mate, and she might hear his invitation hundreds of kilometers away. No other mammal on Earth has such a complex and mysterious call. Males also sing during migration to keep in touch. When others reply, their song will be the same. Each group of humpbacks has its own dialect. From the surface, a female and her newborn calf can hear the distant voices of the males below. Helped by its mother, the baby rises to the surface. It needs plenty of oxygen. And because it's a mammal, it has to breathe fresh air into its lungs, just like us. Millions of years ago, the humpback's ancestors lived on land. And although they've adapted to the underwater world, some things haven't changed. The baby still suckles mother's milk, for example, to see it through the crucial first few months. When an adult male runs out of breath, he stops, mid-song if necessary, and heads for the surface. He needs to do this every half hour or so. Whales expel old air and take in new through the top of their head. Their nostrils form the blowhole. They empty their lungs almost completely before they take a new breath. They also store extra oxygen for later use in their blood vessels and muscles. When they sing, air is circulated rather than lost. It moves back and forth across the larynx, creating sounds that resonate throughout the body and then out across the seas. The nursing female and her baby now have a male escort. he can stop singing. He's found what he was looking for. In the warm breeding grounds of the tropics, the female accepts him as her mate. Next year's calf will be his. Water contains far less oxygen than air, but nature has ways of helping out. Wind and rain stir the ocean cocktail, whisking in air and replacing water lost through evaporation. Ocean currents maintain the mix of warm and cold and dredge up nutrients from the depths to feed the coral reefs. In this vast reservoir of energy and food, there's plenty to go around. And just as on land, the key to it all is oxygen. If you haven't got lungs, you've got to get all your oxygen direct from the water, which is harder. One technique is to steady yourself in a current, so lots of water washes over your gills. That can be helped by twitching your gill covers. But first, you've got to be able to hold your position. Like most bony fish, red soldierfish contain a sort of airbag called a swim bladder. Without it, they'd start to sink. Long before there were whales or fish in the sea, more primitive creatures had different ways of tackling life underwater. Squid, for example. The Caribbean reef squid uses one set of muscles for breathing and another for jet propulsion. It forces water in and out of its body cavity. Changing color is an effective way to communicate, whether it's with a potential mate or a rival. The darker hue is a warning sign, while pink is the color of love. When two males fight over a female, they make their intentions perfectly clear. The winner quickly switches to a more romantic shade. And once he's finally got rid of the rival, he claims his prize. Sea slugs are about as active as slugs on land, but they still get what they need. They wear their flamboyant gills on the back, fully exposed to the water and its oxygen supply. Here's a fish that doesn't travel far either, the frogfish. It uses fins like legs to prop itself up. Even courting is a sedentary affair, as this red frogfish couple demonstrates. The larger female is in front, bloated with eggs. The male, like his partner, resembles a sponge if he keeps still and quiet. But in his excitement, he can't help making himself heard. These extraordinary sounds are for her ears only. The pike blenny is another fish of fixed abode, but first he has to find his ideal home. One of these weed-covered pipes is just the thing. As the blenny settles in, it seems that someone else has had the same idea, and blennies are notoriously bad neighbours. Before long, the newcomer gets a mouthful. The new neighbour can't let that pass. He retaliates. But the ocean current's against him. Caribbean reef sharks never settle down. They have to keep moving in order to breathe. Sharks don't have a muscular flap to propel water over the gills, so their whole body has to move instead. They don't have a swim bladder either, so if they stopped swimming, they might end up on the sea bottom. Except for those with oil in their liver. Being lighter than water, the oil makes them more buoyant. And they're perfectly formed for perpetual motion, with a pointed snout, a powerful tail, and fins in all the right places. The sand tiger shark can afford to take life at a more leisurely pace. In fact, this species can cruise to almost a standstill. The sand tiger has a special trick to stop itself sinking. Basically, it breathes like any other fish. The water flows in and over the gills, carrying oxygen in and carbon dioxide out. But the sand tiger also uses air to make its own airbag. Every so often it heads for the surface and gulps down a jaw full of air. The air is trapped in the stomach, so it can hang suspended in the water without sinking. Some of the largest fish in the ocean use their gills for a dual purpose. These gills are bigger than most, and so's their owner, the basking shark. At 10 meters long, it's the second largest fish in the ocean. Only the whale shark is bigger. Despite its bulk, the basking shark eats only plankton, among the smallest creatures in the sea. It has to have a hearty appetite. It captures prey by engulfing huge volumes of water, which is then forced back out through the gills. Hundreds of hooks called gill rakers trap any morsels of food, while at the same time the flow of water tops up the body's oxygen supply. sharks travel slowly in small groups in the ocean's surface waters. But the basking shark is nowhere near the size of this animal. It's the blue whale, the largest mammal, indeed the largest animal that has ever lived, larger even than the dinosaurs. It's up to 30 meters long and 180 tons in weight, with a voice to match. Krill is the blue whale's favorite diet, and it takes a lot of krill to fill this stomach. As it moves in and opens the jaws, the whale turns sideways, taking almost a whole swarm of krill in one go. That's a mouthful a third its own volume. It stretches the whale's pleated throat to the limit. Instead of gills to trap the food, the blue whale has baleen hanging down inside its mouth, a gigantic bony sieve. The sieve is licked clean by a tongue 6 meters long. The bottlenose dolphin has another of the ocean's most distinctive voices. We humans have hardly begun to unravel the mysteries of its language. On the outside, dolphins' ears are no bigger than a pinhole. Yet helped by jaw bones that transmit sounds, they can pick up frequencies above the range of human hearing and tell exactly where the sound is coming from. Dolphins look much more like fish than mammals. They've lost all their hair for a start, and there are many other changes that help them live in the ocean. A dolphin's skin is 10 times thicker than it would have been on land, and covers a layer of fat, which keeps heat in and acts as a buoyancy aid. It needs only a few seconds at the surface to fill its lungs, even though, unlike whales, the two nostrils have evolved into a single blowhole. Dolphins have thousands of adaptations to suit the water. Other ocean mammals look almost as if they've just stepped off the land. The manatee, or sea cow, still lives close to the shore, grazing fields of undersea grass. It hasn't got a blowhole like the whales and dolphins, but in these shallow Caribbean waters, it doesn't really need one. Having to breathe at the surface is partly why this creature has become so rare. Its soft, fleshy body is easily damaged by boats. Penguins are still crossing the boundary between land and sea, but they're not at their best on foot. They only come ashore to breed and molt. After that, it's back to the water. Like other penguins, the Gentoo is covered in short, stiff feathers which act as insulation in the freezing oceans around the Antarctic. Once in the water, it's obvious what those stumpy arms and legs are for. Suddenly, penguins show they are birds and can fly after all. Unlike sharks, the penguins need to stay down, so they have extra heavy bones as ballast. Some reptiles have also moved from earth to water, but even if they never touch land again, they still need contact with the air. The yellow-bellied sea snake uses a single lung running almost the length of its body, but it also breathes through the skin. The extra long lung doubles as a float. When it wants to dive, it expels all the air and seals up its mouth and nostrils. Other reptiles don't have the luxury of a streamlined body shape, so they have to work much harder to get around. The loggerhead turtle is powered only by its front flippers, but it isn't as heavy as it looks. It has a minimal skeleton and plenty of oil in its flesh, making it less dense and more buoyant. breath of fresh air, and it's time to look for food. The turtle has made its home on a sunken wreck, full of hiding places for favorite meals, crabs and mollusks. Loggerheads are thought to navigate by the moon and stars. But this male isn't going anywhere tonight. While he sleeps, his breathing and heart rate slow right down. When he awakes, his first instinct will be to head up for air. This male may have lived here for more than 50 years, returning from his trips to the breeding grounds thousands of kilometers away. He's never set foot on dry land, not since his very first steps out of the egg. A turtle's birth is carried out in secret. Although loggerheads mate in the water, the female has to lay her eggs on land, 100 or so at a time. This tropical Caribbean sand will incubate them, and the darkness will hide them from predators. Grunion fish also come ashore to breed for similar reasons. The full moon brings a high spring tide, which sends the grunion into a mating frenzy. Females, encircled by the fertilizing males, deposit their eggs in the sand. The sand stops the eggs from drying out, and they'll get more oxygen here than they would in the water. On one of the next high tides, the fry will hatch and make for the ocean. Coral also waits for a high tide to release its eggs and sperm. At the surface are currents driven by the winds that will spread the spawn far and wide. Other parents keep a close eye on their eggs. The mother octopus lays hers in bunches and devotes herself to their development. She blows water over them to ensure a rich supply of oxygen, and she vacuum cleans them with her suckers. The young get the best start in life, but at their mother's expense. For these few weeks, she doesn't eat, and when the eggs are safely hatched, she'll die. Sometimes it's the father who takes responsibility. Male sergeant major fish turn bright blue when breeding, so it's easy to spot the dads-to-be. They waft fresher water over their eggs, just like the mother octopus. This time the females are nowhere in sight. Once they've laid their eggs on the rocks, their job is done. The males take over the day-to-day care. They also guard the nest site against peckish passers-by. These fathers take their task a step further. The yellow-headed jawfish keeps his growing family hidden from the outside world in his mouth. He hovers in the current, gulping to flush his eggs with seawater. By turning them over in his mouth, he makes sure every egg is given an equal chance. This goes on for several weeks. Jawfish fathers are steadfast in the line of duty. Most sea creatures start life in the ocean. Others have to make their way there from the land. Two months after the female loggerhead laid her eggs, her babies feel the call of the seas. From the moment they hatch, the young turtles know exactly where they belong and how to get there. But it's a long and risky journey for such tiny travelers. The male turtles will never go ashore again, and it'll be 30 years before the baby females are ready to breed. Right now, the priority is survival. That means finding food and shelter fast. Floating weed is better than nothing. But it's a flimsy hiding place compared to this. Kelp forests off the coast of California. This forest feeds itself exactly as it would on land, by using sunlight to convert water and carbon dioxide into chemical food. In the process, life-giving oxygen is released. Kelp needs a lot of food. It's the fastest growing plant in the world. It can put on an amazing 60 centimeters a day and reach a height of more than 30 meters. Tiny built-in gas bags help to keep the kelp afloat and push it in the right direction, up towards the sun. Above the ocean surface, some mammals depend on kelp to help them deal with the ups and downs of life at sea. The sea otter can find everything it needs amid the kelp beds and only goes ashore during violent storms. Down here it hunts for crabs and oysters, while back on the surface, the treetops of the underwater forest provide a waterbed. The kelp forest can be a playground as well. To keep warm, an otter needs to eat 30% of its body weight every day. That requires a lot of hunting. And when an otter needs a break, it tangles itself up in the kelp to stop drifting away while asleep. Paws are kept dry, ready for grooming. An otter spends a lot of time fluffing up its fur to improve its insulation in the freezing water. This fur is thicker than that of any other animal, and when full of trapped air, works like a wetsuit, warm and buoyant. Babies are well developed at birth. Their eyes are open and teeth are in place. But it'll take a few weeks to learn to swim. Until then, they use their mother as a float. Sea lions also spend most of their time in the water, but when it comes to raising a family, they need solid ground. This is the time of year to socialize, which can be exhausting. While the pups learn how to swim, the adults relax and warm their flippers in the sun. It's playtime for everyone. Sea lions communicate constantly and even leave air in their lungs so they can bark underwater. Blowing bubbles can be a sign of aggression, but generally sea lions seem to enjoy each other's company. Back on land, it's siesta time for Mum, but one of her youngsters still wants milk, even though it was weaned quite a while ago. It's almost time the pups left the land to explore their ocean home. This big baby will never touch dry land. A southern right whale. Here, in a sheltered Patagonia lagoon, the calf grows strong enough to face the open ocean. Thanks to plenty of mother's milk. Like all young animals, this one likes to play. It may be more than 6 meters long, but it's just a baby. At this age, the calf still needs the comfort of mother's touch. On land or in the ocean, touch is part of family life. Spotted dolphins live in large extended families. Along with language, they use a lot of body contact. As dolphins swim, they constantly make sounds of all frequencies which bounce off objects in the water and return as echoes. Low-pitched sounds travel further than high-pitched ones. That way they always know where other family members or potential predators are. And echolocation is also a good way to track down a meal. By directing high-pitched clicks at the sand, a bottlenose dolphin can tell if there's anything interesting underneath. Razorfish are quick to dive for cover, but that may not be enough. When the dolphin picks up a reading, its sonar clicks speed up for a more detailed picture. Razorfish can dig, but they can't hide. The nurse shark hunts razorfish too, but not by echolocation. It registers the prey's electrical field. The time has come for this bottlenose youngster to learn to use its sonar skills. It shadows its mother as she scans the ocean floor. Bingo. The baby looks and learns. But from time to time, mothers have to leave their young. A mother sperm whale dives for squid, leaving her calf near the surface. Sperm whales go deeper than any other mammals, 3 kilometers or more below the surface. The calf is much too young to follow. Water pressure would kill it. With only remora fish for company, it waits near the ocean surface, where it can take regular breaths. It can hear the reassuring clicks of its mother from far below. Nearby, other sperm whales emerge from the depths, members of the calf's tight-knit community. Most of the air marine mammals breathe out underwater returns to the world above. When humpbacks hunt as a group, they use bubbles in a special way. By blowing out air below the surface, they make a circle of bubbles to confuse and trap a school of herring or other small fish. Then they take turns diving into the bubble net. Waiting gulls know that bubbles mean plenty of leftovers. The humpback is a long-distance traveller. Every year it migrates between summer feeding grounds in the Arctic Ocean and a winter refuge for breeding off Hawaii. During their long migration, the males continue singing to each other and to their females, enriching the music of the oceans. As we learn more about their songs, we narrow the gulf of understanding between land and sea. Maybe one day we'll unravel all the secrets of the ocean's blue voices.